And are we live, Andrew?
Jim, I'm certain that it does say live. I can't see it on my screen, but you probably can see it on yours. So hello.
I can see it. Very, very good morning, Andrew. How you going?
Very, very good. Thank you, Jim. How are you?
Great to see you. And let's get straight into it, shall we? We're 9 minutes over. So, ladies and gentlemen and friends, welcome. Great to have you all with us again on this week's post. But very importantly, we've got a special guest today.
We do, Jim. Very excited.
And firstly, thank you so much, Anthony, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Our audience is predominantly clients of ours and friends through our core suburbs. As a business leader, it's wonderful to have you aboard. So, ladies and gentlemen, with great pleasure, I'd like to introduce to you the chairman of Melbourne Victory Football Club, Mr. Anthony Di Pietro. And Anthony, welcome.
Thanks, Jim and Andrew. Thanks for inviting me on. Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure, mate. We're really excited, and thank you, Jim, for organising this, mate. And absolutely stoked to have Anthony on.
It is, and it's really interesting, Anthony. Over the last couple of weeks, whilst we've been in lockdown, what are we 3.5 weeks in now? We've been doing these weekly sort of posts, if you like, to keep engaged with our clients, and we get a lot of comments and a lot of questions and a lot of phone calls during the week from people wanting us to elaborate on points that we've discussed, because we're all facing challenges, right? This is, we're all going through unique times, but and we talk about how our families handle it. But how's it going at your place, Anthony? How's the family coping?
The family's good. Like everybody else, this second lockdown's, I think, more challenging for everybody, no doubt. We've got two boys in their 20s. One's working and studying at home, and the other one's in the front line in one of our warehousing operations. So, everyone's doing what they need to do, and we've spent more time as a family than we ever have, I think, like just about everyone in Melbourne. So it's been interesting, but good.
It is good, and that's probably the upside of it, is that we have got to reacquaint ourselves with all our families. But look, let's get straight into it. I've got a couple of questions for you, Mr. Chairman. And first things first.
Jim, before I cut you off, I've got a question.
What's that, Andrew?
All real estate agents have to ask this. Anthony, are you thinking of selling?
Depends what rate you give.
I can answer that. He's not selling. He's just moved.
Oh, geez.
We just moved into it. We just built a home. Actually, we just got in before the first lockdown, thankfully.
Congratulations, well done.
Settled in, yeah.
Luckily, it's given you time to set yourself up in the house, hasn't it? And be able to do all the little odd jobs when you move house.
Yeah. No,
it's fantastic. So, as I was going to say, let's get the elephant out of the room. As the chairman of Melbourne Victory, we had a really tough season. But that's done. It's dusted, it's gone. Some really exciting news earlier this week with the board and the chairman announcing the appointment of a new head coach in Grant Brebner. I personally am really excited about that. I think it's a wonderful appointment, Anthony, and congratulations to you and the board. But we're going through challenging times. So particularly when it comes to sport. I mean, sport is a business, like all of us are in business, but sport is a business. And, what do you see as some of the challenges for not only for Melbourne Victory, but for sporting clubs in general in moving forward?
Yeah, it is an enormous challenge. So we all have to reset, Jimmy, and the world's changed. So across all codes, there's been a reduction in broadcast dollars coming in. So, you've seen the AFL, the NRL take a haircut and extend their broadcast deals out. In soccer in Australia, that we're from a public perspective, we're not at the broadcast level near those two. We're pretty much in a second tier category of broadcast. Our revenues have been slashed. We're on Fox for this coming year, and KO, we've got the streaming going on through there. So that's a big one that you have to adjust your budgets for. Membership, we've done something so different, and really nice to see some of the casuals working in the call centre, Jimmy, and your daughter's leading the way. So it's really difficult with membership because we don't have a fixture yet, given that the season hasn't been finalised due to COVID. So what we've done is come in with a base membership, and then you'll opt into games once we're certain about being able to attend games. So that's going to be a bit painful for members because you have to opt in, but there's no other way to do it. And that's certainly going to affect revenues if we don't get the support of members. But look, I think that, you know, we're pretty much set for our coverage, broadcast wise. Our partners have all rejoined. And I think, you know, the challenge is going to continue right in. I think it's an 18-month challenge for all the big codes, including us, and it'll be a reset during that time. And it's just about how good you are at resetting your business to match your revenues.
Yeah, for sure. It's a fair comment, you know, and we often use the analogy in our business when we're doing coaching and training with our staff that our business is very much like a sporting club. It's very much like a sporting team. And, you know, you've got your leadership, you've got your core pack of people that deliver the goods. In sporting clubs, it's results. In our business, we're measured by results, again, by performance. And I think all of us in business are facing enormous challenges at the moment. I know, Anthony, from where we sit, you know, we have a massive task on navigating a couple of months without revenue. And one is obviously ensuring that our staff remain employed, ensuring that we're ready for the exit out the other way, ensuring we keep in touch with our clients, and for two reasons: one from a property point of view, and one from the point of view of checking in to see how they're travelling and how they're coping and how they're navigating these things. So it's certainly a challenge. Tell me, just leading on from that question, the A-League particularly has always worked with having marquee overseas type players that come in. With the impact of COVID, we saw a lot of players that were from overseas take off and go back home to their families and what have you. Do you think that that's going to have an impact for the next season, particularly with perhaps bringing in marquees or overseas type players that you know, want to come and live in Australia, but more importantly, want to come and live in Melbourne?
Yeah, look, the impact, there's going to be quite a bit of moving of the deck chairs in player signing. So marquee-wise, I think we're limited in Australia. We just don't have the budget that compares with what we've been up against with China, for example, South Korea, Japan. They've really moved exponentially with their spend, although that's going to change now, but we'll still be behind them in availability. But with visa players, you know, we had quite an exit, as you know, particularly at Victory, of players wanting to go home and not travel into the hub. But we've appointed Grant as our head coach. We've got a really exciting approach to our recruitment with our Grant, supported by a football committee. And there's players, particularly in Europe. You probably would have read that some of the lower leagues in UK football have now got salary cap for the first time. So there's quite a bit of movement amongst them with player exits, and we've got some unbelievable interest with players wanting to come out here, start a new life. And we're talking about players in their mid-20s that have played in the championship, you know, lower level of Premier League and Championship, League One, really quality players. We're only allowed 5 visas, but we really need to make sure that they're exciting and they can teach our players, but also make our fans really happy and excited. So I think there's going to be some positives. It's not all negative. I think it'll be pretty exciting. We've got 1 or 2 at the moment that I'm really excited about. If we can get them over the line, they'll be new to Australian football. Exciting times.
Fantastic. Well done. That's excellent.
Well, I've got a question as well. Obviously, clearly the impact of this pandemic is having an effect on all sporting codes, Anthony, from grassroots to, of course, elite levels. Do you think we'll see kids' sport back to some type of normal soon, or what do you think?
Yeah, look, I don't really know, but it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. I fear that this calendar year might be over for us. It definitely will be over in any way that we know. Yeah. Because if things come back in some way it'll be in a very restricted way. So we've just got to have that in mind and be prepared for it, but we can't give up. We'll get back to it, and things will get back to people being able to get out there, and kids need to be able to play sport. And it's sad what's going on, but we will be back. This is not going to last forever.
No, well, 100%. I think, look, I'll look at it and say, for the, kids out there that are currently missing out the opportunities to, go to training and see their friends and so forth. That's a disappointing thing being a parent, I suppose. I can see it, obviously, just going to a local park, parents are trying to train one-on-one with their kids and so forth, but it's not the same, The interaction with their friends and whatnot is probably the hardest thing for the kids, So I think it's really important to hopefully, we can get back to some type of normality. They can go back to training and get back to what they love doing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We actually had some Department of Education and Training gave us some support so that we were running some online training sessions that went through state schools Victoria. So there was thousands of kids studying at home, and they still were able to have their PE classes with live online stuff with Victory players, and it went down really well, and it gave the kids a feeling of inclusion with other kids and some really good advice on training tips. So those sorts of things we've all been able to adapt to in this time, but there'll be nothing better than when we can get out there and the kids back out on the pitch.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. Anthony, you, of course, as well as being the chairman of Melbourne Victory, your day job, let's call it your day job. All of us have got a day job, right? And you are the CEO and director, of course, of one of Australia's leading fruit and vegetable suppliers, producers and marketers, the Lamana Premier Group. And, when this pandemic first hit, and you and I have spoken about this offline, but when this pandemic first hit, it amazed me watching the news, as I'm sure a lot of people that have joined us, watching everybody panic buying everything from, meat, all the staples, meat, fruit, veg, freezing everything, and, toilet paper, my God, toilet paper gate. We saw all of that happening. Tell me, was Australia ever going to run out of produce?
No, we weren't, and it was really difficult to get that message through. We were working closely with the major retailers. I think they were impacted big time in their supply chain. So Coles, Woolies, Aldi, Costco, their warehouses were like funnels that were just blocked with supply, couldn't get in quick enough and out quick enough. But look, we've got, there was never going to be a shortage. It was just a matter of people being a bit patient. I think our biggest risk, and that's what we face in the primary industry now on our farms, is labour shortages. And Jimmy, we live in metropolitan Melbourne, right? So we see cafes and restaurants where you might have visa employees that have been working. In regional Australia, where we've got our farms and packing operations, we rely on the bulk of our employees a visa. It's the working holiday maker visa and the seasonal workers, which come from the Pacific Islander agreements that we have. Now, in March, just before COVID hit, Australia had 140,000 working holiday maker visa people in the country working away in areas that pretty much most Australians would struggle to work. As at 2 weeks ago, we had 80,000.
Wow.
So we're heading to around half in a matter of months, and there was only 6,000 applications to come in. We've got our spring crops and summer crops coming up around the country. So put aside cafes and restaurants, we're going to have a real shortage of pickers and packers. And the challenge for Australia is going to be other locals, that particularly in those regional areas, going to go out and take on the work and pick fruits and vegetables and produce in the field and work in the packing sheds, or they're going to stay home on job seeker. And we've got a real challenge in regional Australia. That, to me, that's the challenge to our supply chain, is labour force.
Yeah.
That's interesting as well. That's an interesting point.
And then you've got all this produce that's in the farms, right?
Yeah.
So then you've got to feel for the farmers, and we see a lot of that on the news. So it's it's really when you stop and think the effect of some of the decisions that get made,
Yeah.
and how it affects different businesses in different ways. You know, so it's heartbreaking in many ways that you look at it. But you know, the main thing is, I suppose, Anthony, that we're going to have fruit and vegetables.
Oh, we'll find a way. There's no doubt. They've extended seasonal workers, and you know, we've got Pacific Islanders from Vanuatu, Tonga, and they're fantastic. They pick the bananas right up in Humpty Doo near Darwin and in Innisfail in North Queensland. They're fantastic people, and Australia has a very close relationship with those countries. It's very important for us. And we extended our government extended their visas for 12 months, and we gave them a choice to either go home or stay. But they've got no income at home. There's no tourism going on. It's dead. So felt privileged to be able to stay here and be able to provide their families with an income. So, you know, it's really important for all of us metropolitan living Australians that go into a supermarket and just grab a bunch of bananas to know that there is a really important story behind how they got there.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great.
That's interesting to note. You know, you don't even think about those things when you actually go and get your fruit and veg, you know, and that is so interesting to know. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, back to sport. A-League Grand Final this Sunday.
Yeah.
Sydney versus Melbourne City, which I think it's the first time in the competition on a grand final. So good luck to them, of course.
Absolutely.
We'll see. Unfortunately, we didn't make it, Anth. I think next year we'll be right up there. But this weekend, as I said, Sydney versus Melbourne City. So who do you think is going to win?
I think all us Victory people are disappointed that it's two sky blue teams in and there's no navy blue in there. But like you said, we'll be back. We've been down before and we'll make it back again. But look, I think they're the two teams that are rightfully in the grand final. In very difficult circumstances. Sydney were the standout during the season and deservedly won the Premier's Plate. I think City have just got stronger as the season has gone on. I think City will win, but might be a little bit out there. I think they're strong. I think they've got some good, tough players that can make the difference. I don't mind if they do win, because that'll make our rivalry even stronger when their fans are giving it to our fans next season. And that's what we want, is we want that rivalry strong, and we want to be back there fighting for top position against them and Sydney.
Yeah,
but I think City are good enough to beat them.
Yeah, I think so too. I think their team's gelled really well. They've done as a back end, season's been fantastic. Sydney, of course, throughout the whole season, been consistent. But I think I totally agree with you that a good game against United the other day, and they obviously beat them 2-0, and I think they'll beat Sydney, and I hope they do. So. You don't want the City Cup go back to Sydney. No one wants that.
Well, I've got to tell you, I've got to jump in there, Andrew. And you mentioned Western United, and our offices are based in the West. They home out at Caroline Springs, so special mention to Western United. They've added a fantastic.
What a season! First season.
Yeah, they've done it.
Crazy.
Job. And let me say on the back of that we are certainly Melbourne Victory people through and through. We're proud sponsors of Melbourne Victory as a company, and importantly individually as well. And here's a little bit of trivia, which I'm sure the chairman knows. Yesterday was the 15th anniversary of the first game played in the A-League. Now, I don't know how accurate that is. I've got to preface it by saying I only saw it on Twitter, but I'm sure that that's right. So, we've got to remember we're in a competition that's only 15 years young as well.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. It seems like yesterday, it just come on around the time that Australia qualified for the World Cup 2006, and in November 16, 2005 was our qualification. It was the first year of the A-League. It was a really exciting new era for football in Australia. And, I think you can't hide from the elephant in the room, and people still to this day say, soccer's never going to make it. because we compare it to AFL and NRL, which are really institutional sports in this country, and we should be proud of both of them. But there is a place for this game, and it is the one that puts us on the world stage. And we have to have a flourishing professional top-level league so that our players have a pathway and our Socceroos can, get to the World Cup, and maybe one day we can win it. And I think we've got, if you thought about it, if our predominant sport in this country was soccer, or football as we call it, I think we'd be challenging for a World Cup to win it every 4 years. We have got such a great sporting nation.
Yeah.
So, but it is what it is, and we just need to get behind the game, and it brings so many people together. So many cultures, so many diverse backgrounds. It is such a fantastic game for so many reasons.
Yeah.
I reckon our talent's fantastic, actually. Look at the young players coming through. Jesus, some talent. I know a couple obviously gone overseas and so forth, and well deserved. But I reckon our talent's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to jump in and say that it's 11:29, and Anthony, I know you've got another meeting to go into at 11:30. So on behalf of Andrew, myself, and everybody watching, a massive thank you to you, Anthony, for taking time out of your busy day to join us today. And hopefully we've thrown another dimension into the people that watch us every week. But stay safe, stay well. Thank you. And all the best for Father's Day next week as well, guys.
Yeah. Same to you. Thanks. Thanks for the invitation to be on, Jim and Andrew. And thanks for the partnership that we've had with Barry Plant. When you look from a consumer perspective, if you like, Barry Plant's up there. And I think particularly in the early stages of COVID, Mick McCarthy represented all of you guys publicly really well, and I think did actual real estate in general a great service. So I think everyone at Barry Plant should be really proud of the brand that you guys have built and that you represent. And it's a pleasure to have a partnership with you. So thanks very much.
Well done. Good on you. Thank you, Anthony. Andrew, thank you. Have a great day, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Yeah, stay safe,
you,
boys.
Thanks
and thanks again, Anthony. We'll speak to you soon.
Pleasure. See you.
Bye.